So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Phil Jackman, and I'm delighted to be opening this next session, which is around Northeast connectivity supporting your business growth. So presented by Ben Upton from Aspire. Unfortunately, Ben's having camera problems, as you tend to do on these events. So we're going to have to stick up with his slides only, I'm afraid. So Ben, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Phil.
Perfect.
Afternoon, everybody. Hope you're well. I'm here today to talk to you around business connectivity and how that can support your business growth. As Phil said, my name is Ben Upton. I'm the Head of Product and Pre-Sales at Aspire Technology Solutions. And on the agenda today, we're going to talk around how Northeast business connectivity is delivered. We're going to talk around finding the right solution for your business, and specifically around business grade connections and remote working. We're going to talk around some considerations for backups and how to avoid downtime and connectivity black spots. I'll talk around the Gigabit Voucher Scheme and how that can help your business. And I'll also talk about the future of Northeast connectivity and what it means for all of us. So a little bit about Aspire. So we are a IT managed services provider based in Gateshead. We offer IT support and technical consultancy. We offer managed cloud services and also connectivity and voice. We were established back in 2006. We currently have around 170 employees based in Gateshead. And in 1920, we had a turnover of 23.6 million. We have our ongoing focus on customer service improvements through efficiency, innovation, and also data. And our NPS is around an average of plus 80, which is considerably higher than the industry average. And we have a number of awards that we've won over the past couple of years to shout about as well, and hopefully many to come in the coming years. So firstly, how Northeast business connectivity is delivered. So Northeast connectivity is delivered via a number of internet service providers to data centres across the Northeast, and there is a number of them spread across Tyne and Wear, County Durham and the Tees Valley. Internet traffic is then routed to internet exchanges across the UK, mainly in London and Manchester. Back in 2020, a new world-class internet exchange was created at Stadium Data Centre in North Tyneside. So known as NCL-IX, it is connected to all major cloud providers, as well as connected via underwater submarine cables across the Scandinavia and also North America. And NCL-IX will provide the Northeast with a world-class facility. It will give us greater access to cloud providers and reduce latency on the services that we consume. So a little bit about Northeast connectivity and the sort of picture that we've been seeing over the last number of years. So firstly, the downside. For many years, we've suffered from lack of investment in the region from the national connectivity providers. We've suffered from poor broadband connectivity in many small business parks and industrial estates. And rural areas of the region have suffered from extremely poor coverage. But some of the really good points and some of the things that we're seeing now, we have good fibre coverage across the urban areas of the entire region. We now have multiple national connectivity providers who are investing in the region, and we've had significant investment recently through both public sector projects and also private companies. So I'll talk around finding the right solution for your business. So the difference between residential and business grade connections, and also what remote working means for connectivity and around getting the right connection. So firstly, COVID-19 and connectivity has changed the way we worked, and we've seen exponential growth in internet traffic. So in last year, the UK saw a 78% increase in UK internet traffic as the entire country pivoted towards working from home. The BBC saw around a 220% increase in traffic. Netflix saw a 136% increase versus only a 28% increase the year before. And unsurprisingly, Amazon, 143% increase in internet traffic. So a huge strain on the UK infrastructure and a huge demand both from businesses and residential customers. So I'll talk a little bit about traditional broadband connectivity and how it's delivered. So we hear a lot about fibre, we hear a lot about fibre optics, fibre broadband, and I'll talk about what that means. So firstly, we have ADSL broadband. This has been around for many, many years, and that is delivered over old-fashioned copper cabling. That delivers somewhere between 1 and 20 megs worth of connections. And in 2025, we will see this technology come to an end. BT will close its traditional public telephony network, and many customers who are still on ADSL broadband will need to move away from that onto a better product. And currently there are many providers out there who are constructing brand new super fast connectivity networks, and I'll talk a little bit about them soon. So some of the new technologies that are coming along. So firstly, fibre to the cabinet, been around for many years now. And the way that fibre to the cabinet is delivered is the first section is delivered on fibre, and the second section from the street cabinet to the home or the business premise is still delivered on old-fashioned copper. We then have fibre to the premise, which is delivered end-to-end between the exchange and the business premise on fibre. FTTP, as it's known, has become increasingly popular over the last few years, and we're already starting to see speeds up to about 900 meg. So a fantastic improvement and a lot of work to do between now and the old network being switched off in 2025. So I'll talk a little bit now about business fibre and business connectivity products and how they're different. So there are still FTTC and FTTP available for business customers. These services often come with better speed guarantees, and also importantly, better fix guarantees in the event of a fault. In terms of FTTC, that is still delivered over a mix of fibre and copper. FTTP is delivered end-to-end on fibre, and a lease line, which you may have heard of, is delivered fully on fibre without the need of a street cabinet, with speeds up to a whopping 100 gigabits per second. So the difference between traditional broadband and business grade connectivity. So with traditional broadband, you can see increasingly improved speeds, as I said, up to 900 meg. However, on the back of that, you often see very slow upload speeds. And for many customers who have transitioned to moving to cloud technology, they require that significant upload speed, which doesn't exist with traditional broadband. In addition to that, traditional broadband is what we call contended. So you will share that connection with lots of other people in the geographical area. And you often see this if you're at home on an evening, your broadband will generally slow down. And that is because as people come home from work, as children come home from school, the drain on the services increases. With traditional broadband as well, that also comes with a fairly high time to fix. So somewhere between 24 and up to 72 hours, something which for many business customers just couldn't put up with. So business grade connectivity. So firstly, it gives us fantastic download speeds. Also, in many occasions, the upload speed is exactly the same, meaning that customers never need to worry about that upload speed. And business grade connectivity is often dedicated to yourself. So regardless of how many people in your geographical area are using the internet at that time, you will still get the speed that you're paying for. And with business grade connectivity comes some fantastic fixed time, anywhere between 4 and 6 hours. So it's definitely worth looking at what you're paying for and what your business needs. So I'll talk a little bit about remote working. So the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the way that we work, probably forever. Businesses have adapted well to remote working, and in the right environment for many has improved productivity and increased employee well-being. As we start to transition to what will be the new normal, many businesses will be looking to move to a hybrid working model, with people given the option of working from home and in the office. And technology and connectivity is going to be key to the success of this going forward. So if you're considering remote working, whether you're an employer or an employee, some things that you really need to consider. So is the connectivity in the home up to scratch? Is that employee able to participate as well as they need to? Are there people in the organisation who frequently can't hear what is being said, who frequently are unable to participate as well as they need to in the meetings? Do employees need additional support to ensure good connectivity in the areas that they work? When they're not in the office and they don't have that IT support, is a residential service provider really up to the job of supporting your employees at home? Do employees potentially need more control over the connectivity, the security of it, or potentially what is being used over that connection? And could employees continue to do their role in the result of a loss of connectivity? And as I said earlier, potentially up to 72 hours. Do employees potentially need a backup connection, which in the event of the primary going down, would still allow them to undertake the core role that they needed to do? So they're all considerations for employers looking to move to either remote working permanently or a hybrid model around what is right for their employees. So some considerations to take into account when thinking about connectivity. So in terms of speed, that ranges from 10 meg to up to 100 gig. Contention. So this refers to how the connection is shared with other businesses and residential properties in the area. The service level. So standard broadband comes with higher fixed times. Leased lines and business grade connections range from 4 to 6 hours. And resiliency. So how resilient is the connection to faults? So customers who are unable to operate their businesses should the connectivity fail should consider a resilient option. And this could come in the form of another leased line from a different carrier. And that would ensure that any issues on the network, another carrier was able to continue to provide service. Or a backup connection such as FTTC, FTTP, and even 4G and 5G. So I want to talk around some connectivity challenges. So I speak to many businesses who are struggling with connectivity, but are unable to get the major internet providers and infrastructure providers to actually listen to them to address the concerns and the needs that they have. So one of the biggest things that people can do is a collective approach. So in business parks or industrial estates or in offices where there are many different companies often working as one, to speak to companies will help that approach. It will help the connectivity owner to understand that there are multiple opportunities at that location. There's funding available. So for people in rural areas, there is now the Gigabit Voucher Scheme in which you can leverage government funding, and I'll talk around that in a few minutes. Register your interest with both City Fibre and Virgin Media. Both companies are carrying out some huge expansion in the region at the moment. They both have sections on the website where you can jump on and register, and they will use that to decide and form their build plans. And talk to Aspire, see how we can help. We have connections with all of the major infrastructure providers, and we're able to speak to them, and we're able to help and shape how the build will take place across the Northeast over the coming years. So I mentioned the Gigabit Voucher Scheme. I'll talk a little bit more about that now. So the UK government has set aside up to £210 million worth of funding for the Rural Gigabit Voucher Scheme. And this is to support businesses and residential properties in rural areas that are suffering from slow broadband speeds. So each voucher is worth up to £1,500 for homes, or £3,500 for businesses to help cover the cost of installing gigabit connectivity. And group projects are available when multiple vouchers can be combined. So that collaborative approach that I spoke about a few minutes ago, businesses can come together can each claim for a voucher, can pool that and use that as funding to deliver gigabit connectivity. So in order to be eligible, so the premise must be classed as being rural as per the government's definition. And if you head over to the Gigabit Voucher website, there's a postcode checker on there. The existing broadband speed needs to be less than 100 meg per second. And there can't currently be a gigabit cable network that is currently being planned to be built. So if you're part of a business that's in a rural area, if you maybe live in a rural area and you're struggling for broadband speed, it's definitely worth checking out the Gigabit Voucher website, seeing if you're eligible and applying for that support. So I'd like to talk about the future of North East connectivity and what we've got to look forward to. So recently, Aspire has invested £6 million across Tyneside, Wearside, County Durham and the Tees Valley in the expansion of gigabit infrastructure since 2018. BT Openreach are investing £13 million in Northumberland connectivity, and we are seeing the rollout of FTTP to many small rural villages in Northumberland. Virgin Media are rolling out gigabit connectivity across the North East with a rapid expansion of their fibre network. So under Project Lightning, Virgin Media intends to connect up to another 6 million premises in the UK in the coming years. A lot of that work is happening in the North East, and if you think you could take advantage of that, please do head over to their website and register your interest. City Fibre have announced plans to build their gigabit network across the North East over the coming years. Work has already started in Newcastle and North Tyneside, and that will spread to Gateshead, South Tyneside, Sunderland, into Durham and down to the Tees Valley over the coming years. And that will deliver a network which is also capable of delivering up to 1 gig speed to premises. Fantastic investment in the region. At Aspire, we've secured a 20-year contract to provide gigabit connectivity to all Newcastle City Council buildings. Nearly 210 corporate buildings, schools, libraries, museums will be connected with fibre, which can deliver up to 100 gigabit per second connectivity. And that will provide Newcastle City Council with a network for the next 20 years. The Tees Valley Combined Authority has invested £3.5 million for BT to expand their fibre network across the Tees Valley. That work is already well underway and delivering fantastic benefit. And City Fibre has secured a contract to provide gigabit connectivity to all Sunderland City Council buildings. So similar to the contract that Aspire has secured, City Fibre will replicate that in Sunderland, delivering a fantastic network for Sunderland for the next 20 years. So I spoke earlier around that lack of investment for many years in North East infrastructure. We are in a very different place now, not since the mid to late 1990s, when the likes of Comcast, United Artists, NTL and Telewest started building the CapV cable TV network. Have we seen the level of infrastructure that is currently going in to the North East? And it's absolutely fantastic to see it will deliver benefit to everyone. So if you do have any questions, please do drop them in the Q&A. If not, please feel free to drop me an email or contact Aspire, and we can speak to you more around your connectivity needs. As I mentioned, in terms of the Gigabit Voucher Scheme, if you are in a rural area, please do take advantage of it. If you think you can be part of Virgin Media and City Fibre's rollout, please do register your interest on their website. That will drive where they build and will secure funding for that area. So unless there's any questions, thank you very much to everyone for your time.
Thanks, Ben. And I'm not quite sure how long we've got left. Do you know, in terms of this session?
There's potentially 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, well, I've got a, if you don't mind being put in this. Because broadband connectivity is something that I've been very passionate about for some time. I led on the Digital Dome program, which brought super fast broadband to, I think it was 10 of the local authority areas. So it's quite a bit of intense work going on. The horny issue or hoary issue that we could never seem to crack was the rural stuff, the real rural stuff. Yeah, the sort of your kind of Woolers and that kind of thing up in Kielder and that kind. Do you think that the community to get to try and drive connectivity rather than individual?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that there are so many more opportunities out there now for ISP networks to build to small communities. So a number of years ago, BT Openreach was forced by the UK government to allow other providers to use its network. So historically, these small communities were relying on BT and BT alone. And if BT weren't going to invest in that area, then nobody was. What we're seeing now is lots of small companies popping up all over the UK who are constructing into rural areas and providing those communities with the connectivity that they need. So there is absolutely a case where small local communities that come together can get these companies to start building in those areas, and those ISPs taking advantage of the Openreach network are able to construct to those areas, are able to use the existing infrastructure, and are able to carry out that investment that they've needed for so long.
So if you have some sort of passive infrastructure like like your area, then there's a possibility that you could get broadband to you.
Absolutely, yeah. So any ISP who is registered with Openreach, they're able to put their fibre onto telegraph poles, into ducts, and start constructing to these areas. We've seen some work such as this taking up in rural Northumberland. There's work that's taken place down in the Yorkshire Dales by small companies who have done this. So absolutely, there is no reason now why any area cannot be served as long as the investment is there, people are willing to do it.
Okay, and so just building on this theme, what makes a good community? What would you like to see from a community to make you interested in investing in that?
Yeah, so what we need to see is the desire from the people there. Obviously, we are a business. We need to see that return on investment. So, talking to the community, understanding their needs, understanding, what are their use cases, what are they using their connections for, what residential properties are we going into, what community centres and community halls are we going into, and what will that return be? So, a real coordinated approach by a local community where any company can see that volume in numbers is a huge advantage. And as I said, more people who speak up, who come together, who register their interest, the more that will get the attention of the ISPs and the bigger companies such as Openreach, Virgin Media, and City Fibre.
So ideally, you would like to see some sort of community leaderships, people coming together, presenting the case to businesses such as yourselves.
Absolutely, yeah. So residential groups that are able to come together to coordinate that, so that ISPs can understand the need and the return. That's what we need to see. They are people that we need to speak to and work with them, work with the local authority to improve the connectivity to those areas.
Yeah, so what concerns me, Ben, is that working from home is going to be very easy if you live in an urban area where broadband is adequate. It's going to be quite difficult in a rural area, when really it's the rural areas which lend themselves superbly to working from home.
Absolutely. When we look at companies and individuals that want to cut down on that commute, want to improve their employees' well-being, want to not spend their time in the car when they could actually be at home adding value to the company. Those are the people who want to consume better and faster broadband. So it's absolutely areas that we should be investing in.
Are you interested in supportive assistance like dig, land land rights, etc., or would you rather just use the existing infrastructure that's there?
It all depends on the area and the cost, Phil. So, obviously, if there is existing infrastructure in place, it makes sense to use it. If that infrastructure is fit for purpose, easily accessible, then it makes sense that we jump on that and we use that infrastructure rather than causing disruption and putting new infrastructure into the ground or into poles. So I think that that many ISPs now are switching towards, if there is infrastructure there already, then they will use that. And even when we look at the recent building plans that we're seeing from Virgin Media, they are starting to take that approach of using the Openreach infrastructure to hop between villages and hop between towns rather than spending money on digging up roads and causing lots of disruption.
Appeal to you and organisations like you is that not to forget these rural areas, because the trouble is, the more low-hanging fruit, to want a better word, we pick off, the more costly it becomes to finish the job off. It's a kind of well, I don't know what it's a kind of difficult problem. But anyway, Ben, if you don't mind moving on, I'd just like to come back to this connectivity that we've now got with North America and Northern Europe through Stellium Data Center.
Yeah.
This is really significant, is it not, for the region?
It is, Phil. Yeah, I mean, we've not seen we've not seen a development like this in the Northeast before. For anybody involved in tech who's aware of Stellium, it is a absolutely fantastic facility and a world-class data center campus. Aspire has been working with Stellium for nearly 2 years now and has a significant amount of equipment in Stellium. And this new route that has recently been installed is absolutely world leading. So, as I said in my presentation, this comes across from Scandinavia on an underwater cable into the facility at North Tyneside. It then heads out west, out towards the Blackpool area, and then back onto underwater cables and across to North America. So, NCLIX, although in its infancy, is really going to take off and will provide the Northeast with absolutely fantastic connectivity and, really importantly, access into cloud providers. Whereas at the moment, all that traffic is going down to London, it's going down to Manchester. It does cause delays and it causes latency for businesses, especially that are really heavy cloud-based users. And NCLIX will change all that. So an absolutely incredible facility, and great to see that investment in the Northeast.
Thinking that this is the lowest latency connectivity in the country.
Depending on how it's connected, yeah, absolutely, it has the potential to be the lowest latency. So at Aspire, we will be whenever we're connecting a business customer, we will be connecting the business customer into one of our data centers that immediately then transfers into Stellium. So that will give customers somewhere around 1 to 1.5 milliseconds of latency. The average latency that a user would see on a normal lease line is anywhere between 20 to 40 milliseconds. Now, for the average residential home user, that won't make a difference. But for business customers that are consuming cloud services, for business customers that are backing up their data and backing it up into the cloud, that can make a huge amount of difference. So, yeah, an absolutely fantastic solution to the Northeast.
Okay, well, look, thanks very much for that. It's an area that we tend to often overlook when we're talking about technology. It's without infrastructure, good. We really are nowhere. It's a fundamental aspect of it, that way. So thank you very much. And well, there you are. Thank you.